To introduce Scott Colvin is Head of Government Relations, Policy and Advocacy at Finsbury Glover Herring, and he's political advisor to leaders of some of Britain's biggest businesses. So thank you very much, Scott, for joining us.
My pleasure, Simon.
Well, the Greensill Cameron scandal has got major implications, hasn't it, for the way business lobbies government. And the question really is, can business afford to lobby government anymore? Is it too dangerous? But to start with, do you think that the Cameron Greensill scandal, will it escalate into a major crisis, or will it simply run out of steam?
Well, it's shown no sign at the moment of running out of steam. I mean, this is a story that began in what must have been early March, and has just been day to day, death by 1,000 cuts, various angles to the story as well, and it's just showing no sign of going away. It starts off as a David Cameron specific issue, then focuses on the government's role of particular ministers, and then we find ourselves, this amazing discovery that senior civil servants were taking corporate money whilst being senior civil servants. So it shows no sign of going away. You've got 7 or 8 different lines of inquiry now. You're going to have David Cameron before at least two parliamentary select committees. So I suspect it's going to keep rumbling on for many more weeks.
What do you think it says about how and whether business should lobby government in the future? I mean, is this an end to business lobbying?
I don't think it is, and I don't think it should be. I mean, I think the issue specifically with Cameron, by the way, didn't actually break any rules, not least because his government helped create the rules, which you could drive a coach and horses through. But he's a private citizen. He's been out of office for 5 years. He was representing a company and their interests, and he made representations on their behalf. I mean, to me, it was entirely inappropriate that the former prime minister would use his range of personal contacts on behalf of a company seeking public money, but he didn't actually break the rules. I think it would be a very significant shame if, as a result of this, business didn't feel that it could make representations on specific issues to government. I mean, I'll give you an example, Simon. I mean, I think that you were the chairman of Flybe at the time when the UK or obviously the referendum on the EU took place. Aviation is a sector which, in the event of a hard no-deal Brexit, would have had no rules to fall back upon, and potentially planes would have been grounded, with all of the impacts that has on business travel, personal travel, jobs in the industry. So it's perfectly reasonable that an airline would have made, as they did at the time, make representations to senior people in government to talk through the consequences of a hard Brexit on that specific industry. And you can see that in lots of other industries too, where government makes decisions or proposes decisions which would have unintended consequences on sectors which employ lots of people, which invest lots of money in the economy. So I don't think it's wrong at all that businesses make representations on policy to government. I think it's actually a healthy thing. I think where it goes wrong, in my view, and something which definitely every business should be looking at themselves in the mirror and questioning how they conduct their work of this type, is, are those engagements and those representations to ministers taking place on the golf course? Are they taking place in the private members club over a bottle of claret? Are those conversations taking place in hospitality venues at Wimbledon or Wembley? And I think things like that are inappropriate. And I do think that more transparency about how business does engage government can only be a good thing and should be encouraged, and is the way to demonstrate that it's perfectly legitimate for business to lobby government.
So are you advising your clients now to be very careful in how they lobby and to make sure it goes through proper channels and is done in meetings and is minuted. So is it about being absolutely cleaner than clean?
Absolutely, and it shouldn't be it shouldn't be text relationships or WhatsApp messages. There should be a paper trail which shows that you've written to a minister, because that would be a matter of public record. That it's copied into civil servants, that you're putting your arguments on paper in a transparent way, in a fair way. And then, when a meeting takes place, it's very rare that a business leader would meet with a minister one-to-one. It's normally with other people present in the room. And I think that's absolutely reasonable. I do think another thing that companies do need to look at is, are they employing people who could have been, former MPs, former ministers, maybe current parliamentarians in the House of Lords or elsewhere. I think if you have those types of relationships, I think it's definitely worth reviewing that and seeing whether they're still appropriate and fit for purpose under the current circumstances. But I think, as long as what you're doing on behalf of your employees, on behalf of your customers and your shareholders is entirely transparent and above board and making very reasonable arguments, I see no problem at all for the continued lobbying of business, of government.
Thanks very much, Scott. That was very interesting and encouraging, but I think there's a few warning messages for all of us in there. So thanks very much, Scott.
My pleasure. Thank you.